So this is the handover for the Autocruise Select 122. We'll begin on the outside of the van with your water access points. Using the smaller key, open up the water filler cap and then use a hose pipe to connect up. Water accumulates into a tank which is slung underneath the vehicle. You have a separate drain point underneath for accessing and draining that fresh water tank off, which you might do for winter storage or for cleaning or cleansing the van. Adjacent to the filler cap there is a 12-volt point, so you could use a submersible pump to fill up the water system instead if required. When you open up the barn doors at the back, you've got two access cupboards for storage. In one of these is a mains lead left by the previous owner along with your awning handle. To operate the awning, put the T up inside the slot and then turn the handle accordingly. Wind the awning out to a midpoint. There are legs built into the front of the pelmet which are on a little spring load. So push in on one of the legs, bring it round, let the leg slide through your fingertips, and then to lock it off, push up firmly on the side lever, and that secures the leg in one position. Repeat on the other side with the other leg. So these awnings are designed for fair weather use only. So in wet or in windy conditions, make sure that you have them retracted. Don't leave them out unattended. The retraction process is the reverse of putting it out. So draw the leg up through. Make sure the foot is folded flat against the leg, and then it should locate back into position. And then wind the leg back in, like so. So when you pull back the sliding door, you've got access point for your gas bottle. Make sure that your gas bottle is switched off on top of the cylinder by rotating the valve clockwise. Turn it anti-clockwise and you'll turn the gas on. When you do turn the gas back on, you will probably need to reset your crash sensor. So use the end of the key, pushing on the green tab, hold it in for a couple of seconds, and that will restore the gas supply back inside of the van. Just above that, you've got your sliding step. So push up and the step extends, push down and the step retracts. Up above the barn doors, you've got your reversing camera lens. So it gives you a nice wide angle image of what's going on behind the vehicle when you engage reverse. Down onto the side, and you have your mains connection points. It's important that you connect to the side of the van first of all. So pull up and hold the cap open and slide your connection up and on so that the cap can grip onto the side of the unit, and then connect to your main supply and do your mains test. Adjacent to that, you've got the vent for the exhaust for the room heating, for the water heating system, so make sure that doesn't get obscured. And then below on the pelmet skirt, you've got your grey water outlet. So this is the wastewater from the shower tray, the vanity unit, and from the kitchen sink. There's a corresponding gauge on the control panel that will tell you how full it is. Round on this side, you've also got your toilet cassette. So to empty the cassette, you should be able to pull up on the orange lever and pull it towards you. If there's any kind of resistance, go inside and check and make sure that the slider is shut. Otherwise, draw the whole cassette out completely. Extend the orange neck out and take the grey cap off, and then over your sluice, press the orange button at the top, and that should allow then any waste to come out of the base. Before you load it back in, use the measuring cup provided up to a capful of base chemical or a sachet mixed with about 2 litres of water. Give it a little swirl round, and then it should load back in nice and easily and lock back into position, ready for use. Your fuel filler cap is just on the outside of the vehicle. pull open the flap, use your ignition key in, twist and twist off. You can hang the filler cap on the bottom of the door if you wish to do so, and insert back in accordingly. Just inside the cab door, on the end of the passenger end of the dashboard, you've got your bonnet release. So pull down on that one to open it up. Located under the floor on this model, you've got your engine battery, and located underneath the passenger seat, you've got your vehicle toolkit. There is no spare wheel on this van. All right, you'll need to use a reflation kit if that's what occurs. Your bonnet release, centrally located. Over on the left-hand side of the engine bay, you've got your screen washer point, and then you've got your radiator, brake fluid, and power steering reservoirs, which can be accessed along with the oil filler cap. To the front of the engine block, you've got your oil dipstick. Should you ever need to jump start the vehicle, Fiat have provided you with a little access panel, so you can pop this cover open using the end of the key and expose that little paddle there, which you can connect your positive to, and the negative goes onto this corresponding bolt just there. Driver and passenger seats both have adjustments on them. So there's a centrally located lever for swiveling the seat, but for the height adjustment on it, you have these controls here, which will raise and lower the seats accordingly, along with wheels on the underside of the arms for the height position, and then your traditional D-bar and backrest adjustment for leg and back controls. So underneath the bed box, you've got a 12-volt and mains control panel from Sargent. On the left-hand side, you've got an isolator switch for shutting down the 12-volt system. So if this button is selected, it turns on or turns off the 12-volt supply. Whenever you want to use the van, you'll need to make sure that it's on. If it's left off, you won't get a charge going from the alternator when you drive the vehicle. You won't have the ability to charge the vehicle from the mains if you are connected to a site supply. There's a bank of 12-volt fuses below, upside down, but there's a menu list on this piece of paper which tells you what those fuses are related to. Over on this side, your mains hookup. So you've already done the mains connection on the outside. You may find that the main supply is switched off underneath the seat. So start by pressing up on the blue switch, press the yellow switch down to test the circuit to make sure the main supply is safe for you to use. And then you can then come across on the individual switches, and as you'll see, there's a bank of switches which will start to light up, indicating that you have the battery charger on and that the water heater is also an option for mains electric. Also under the bed box, adjacent to the mains system, you have your water heater. It's both gas and electric powered. Remember to make sure that the vent on the outside isn't obscured or blocked by perhaps something being leaned against it. Internally, specifically for winter storage, sometimes people do it for sterilisation purposes as well during the summer, you have a drain valve for draining the water heater off. Lift the valve up to the vertical positions, you may well hear a rush of water underneath the vehicle, and it starts to drain the water heater out. For winter storage, it's important that you open up the taps in the sink, in the vanity unit and the shower as well, to make sure that you've got that continuity, that open supply all the way through the system. When you want to refill or commission the system, put the yellow tag back into the horizontal position. Make sure that you've got an adequate supply of fresh water in the tank. Turn your pump on and draw the water initially through the hot tap in the kitchen, and then repeat with the vanity unit and the shower tray. So you have a control panel above the door for the interior actions within the van to do with the 12-volt system. Turn your 12-volt supply on, and immediately it'll show you the voltage that's available, perhaps a time clock up at the top, and you can see the amount of fresh water that you have within the system. You'll get a corresponding series of blocks arise up the right-hand side to show you when you're gaining wastewater. Switches on the left-hand side are for the outside awning light above the sliding door. You have some interior lights around the top, and these can be controlled on a dimmer as well by keeping your finger on that supply switch. And then you have additional 12-volt spot lamps above the bed as well. To use the water system, hot or cold, you will need to have the pump switched on, and you'll draw the water through the system accordingly. When you've got that continuity of water coming out of your hot tap, and it's the same for the vanity unit and for the shower tray, then you've got sufficient pressure within the system for you to be able to heat the water up. Your up and down arrows enable you to go through a series of menu controls, so you can set up heater settings and system settings, as well as monitoring your interior and exterior temperatures from there. Just a simple switch above the door for turning off and turning on the 12-volt light directly in the cabin space, and then you have your room heating system. Turn the room heating system on, press on the black button, and you'll see a series of characters come up along the top. Over on the extreme right hand side you have a fan symbol, and you can just turn on a fan on its own. So select vent and then increase or decrease the fan by sliding your finger around on the roller switch. Take it all the way back to the off position, and it will enable you to turn that system off. Depending on where you're located, you will be able to use either gas, electric on a low level setting, perhaps if you're on a weak mains amperage site, or on a higher level setting if you are connected to the main supply. They kick out around about 900 and 1800 watts respectively. Colder climates, you can combine both the gas and the electric together. So here it's on the maximum electric setting along with the gas. Again, subject to the availability of mains electric, you might have to reduce the electrical input down to the 900 watt setting and mix it with the gas. Won't make the van get any hotter or the water get any hotter, but it will speed up the process if you use the mix system. As far as heating up the van, go to the first symbol, which is the temperature gauge inside the fan, and you can increase or decrease accordingly up to the desired temperature. Whilst it's trying to rise to that temperature, you'll see the flame symbol on the top begin to flash, begin to pulse. Once you have a steady, consistent symbol, as we have here, then it indicates that the temperature within the van has been achieved. It's a similar story for the water. So again, go to the off position. You can heat it up onto a 40-degree setting, it's what they call the eco mode, or you can boost it up to 60. And again, whilst the water is trying to heat up, you may well see the top symbol adjacent to the flame one start to flash, indicating that the water heater is on. You don't have to have the room heating on for the water heater to work, so we can go back to that control and we can turn that one off, just to illustrate that you can actually just have water heating on its own. Along the bottom you have a clock setting, so you can set it up to the desired time that we have within the day. And then if you wish to, all the functions that we've done on the top, you can now set up through a very rudimentary timer control. So if you want to have the water heating or the room heating kick in at 8 o'clock in the morning and go off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then you can do so from that function. Finally, there's a settings menu, which also enables you to reset the control panel should you have or encounter any problems with its setup or operation. You have a 12-volt fridge. Open up the fridge door, and over on the left-hand side of the controls you have a basic on-off switch, which you can push and hold to turn the appliance on and off, and then a thermostat switch. The more of the blue lights that are illuminated, the colder the fridge will become. Your television aerial is located in the wardrobe above the fridge. Extend the aerial above the roof of the van by undoing the wheel at the top and pushing up. This section here indicates the back of the aerial, so currently the aerial is pointing in the opposing direction. Certain locations you might have to use the aerial in a vertical position, so the pigtail at the base is designed specifically for that purpose, and it turns it from a flat aerial to a vertical aerial accordingly. To retract it, however, it needs to be back in the horizontal position with the H facing forward towards the cab and pulled all the way back down. There is a separate amplifier that you'll need to turn on whenever you want to use the aerial. It should illuminate a blue light, and then wherever your coaxial sockets are positioned, you should be able to pick up a feed. Also in here, you have your regulator for the solar panel up onto the roof. Because we're under an awning at the moment, there's no feed going into it, but it's likely you'll see some illumination on a bright sunny day. So your toilet is here. It's a swivel bowl toilet, so you can maneuver it into your required position. On the side of the toilet bowl, there's a lever. You need to make sure that lever is pulled across before you use the toilet. You'll also need to make sure the lever is shut before you try and withdraw the cassette from outside. To flush the loo after use, press the blue button and you should get some rinse water going around the inside of the bowl. And then close your lever over firmly. When the cassette is approaching full, you'll get an indicator light coming on the control panel. Tip up sink, and then your taps around to draw your water supply through accordingly. And it's a similar story for the shower. And you should be able to draw your water through the fly accordingly. There's a number of different head positions that you can put it into if required. So having established your gas supply outside, make sure that you've got a good continuity of gas inside. So use the piezo igniter to turn on the gas on burner 1, hold down for a few seconds and then repeat and turn the gas on with burner 2. Grill controls are similar to the hob, so turn the gas valve on, a couple of clicks and you should find that the grill is all lit up. On this model, underneath the cooker and the hob, you also have some individual isolator taps for the individual appliances. There's a menu on the back of the door telling you what colour corresponds. Generally speaking, you leave those isolator taps switched on, but if you wanted to isolate a specific appliance, you could do so. So the cab controls are fairly straightforward. With your ignition key in, if you want to start the vehicle, you need to make sure that your foot is on the brake clutch pedal and that the vehicle is in neutral. With your foot held down, you should be able to start the vehicle quite easily. You may well hear the control panel bleeping in the background because it's indicating that we're still connected to the mains supply. Changing gear, let the lever fall through your fingers and you'll see that you have an Auto 1 display and it will consequently go up through the gears as you drive forward. However, you can put it into the manual mode and you'll see that the auto symbol disappears and then it's up to you to push the lever forward or back to change up or change the gears down. Reverse on this one, over and back, and again you'll see the RR symbol come up and also see your reversing camera come on, showing you the images behind the vehicle. The rest of your stalk controls are fairly straightforward. So you have your lights up on the top left hand side and below that your cruise control and speed limiter. Your wiper controls over on the right hand stalk along with headlamp beam and fog lamp adjustment on the control panel behind that stalk. Ventilation controls, you have your speed and temperature of your fan on the left hand dial and then your inlet and recirculatory controls on the lower section and in the direction of your ventilation within the cab. When this switch is illuminated, it means that the air conditioning is on. Central locking, if all the doors are secure, you can use the central locking button to draw that through, and then you have a hazard light switch located centrally along with your ASR button. The ASR system is permanently on. You can disable it perhaps if you're driving on loose stone or in icy conditions. Clipboard comes up like so and it releases a catch plate system, so if you want to use a tablet or mobile phone holder then you can do so. And you have glove box. This particular part of the glove box is connected to your air conditioning system, so it will give you a cold air supply into there, so you can use it as a mini fridge. And then you have a smaller supplementary box below the knees. USB ports are connected up to the stereo system, so you can use other media inputs. Stereo controls can be used independently of the ignition, but they're on a time setting, so they may well go out after a period of time. So that concludes the handover for your Autocruise. We're available on the end of the phone if you need to get in contact with us about how the controls or how the systems work in this van. But on behalf of Hine and Camper Vans, thank you very much for using our services. Sincerely hope that this van gives you lots of miles and lots of smiles. All the best. Take care.